Good afternoon to all the participants to the 20th anniversary conference of the Center on Capitalism and Society. My best wishes and congratulations to the director, Ned Phelps, and his group. And many thanks for the invitation. The title of my paper is Green Deal, Innovation and European Growth. In the scenario of the COVID crisis, the European Union decided to adopt the next generation EU, a 750 billion plan based for more than 50% of green and digital investment, introducing at the same time a program for cutting CO2 emission by 55% by 2030, with respect to 1999. The expected consequences of the plan are a wide-ranging of transformation in European economy, restoring growth and dynamism. These are the expected consequences. The decision to accelerate the transition to a carbon-neutral economy and the pace of transformation involved by the green policy will have important consequences on capital stock, employment, and, this is very important, a lot of disruption along the way. We are not able to say today if the emission-cutting goals will be fulfilled as timing and magnitude, but we can be sure of their revolutionary impact on the European economy. Decarbonization can be regarded from a macroeconomic point of view as an adverse supply shock that does not necessarily mean that growth will decline if the carbon pricing will trigger new infrastructure spending and an accelerated renewal of equipment and buildings. The crucial point is, however, in what extent the Keynesian role of investment associated in the European plan with the launch of a policy based on technological competition, on green and digital innovation, will be able to adapt European policy to the new competitive international scenario. My idea is that there is this kind of perspective that has been at the basis of the decision made by the European Union. At the end of the process, the competitive position of each European country will be different in relation to its ability to introduce innovation in their economy. The main challenge to face is the temporal profile of the events and the policy adopted, but policy intervention and private initiative are needed to redirect market forces toward the cleaner energy before market forces can take over. The International Agency for Energy pointed out that the technologies currently available to the market at scale will not be sufficient to effect a global clean energy transition to net zero emission, and the continued and strong focus on R&D is essential to the transition. According to the European Patent Office report, the shift to less carbon energy can only be achieved through an acceleration in energy sector innovation. The crucial point is that the European Union seems to be haunted by the ghost of missing growth just before the current crisis. The slowdown in total productivity, mainly in euro area, is due to the slowdown of the innovation activity, the lack of dynamism, and the associated halt to both growth and the social elevator is the main problem to be solved. The need of a good society solving the puzzle of the anemic growth of Europe was seriously accelerated and aggravated by the pandemic crisis. That said, when we consider education, skills, migration, aging, and labor market institutions, we find that too many changes may contribute to the total factor productivity slowdown. In his secular stagnation hypothesis, Larry Summers attributed, as everybody knows, the responsibility of the slowdown to the demographic factor. Nevertheless, productivity slowdown remains an unsolved puzzle. Ned Phelps argues in his recent book on dynamism that the shortcoming of traditional classical economics include the failure to take into account the non-pecuniary aspect of work, such as self-realization, job satisfaction, and that this result in a view of economic growth that fails to account for the dynamism of modern economy, specifically the way in which they innovate. In his opinion, the mass flourishing represented by the 19th century surge in prosperity was much more of a bottom-up process than the standard view suggests. Innovation and progress was, in his view, not just the result of a small number of big breakthroughs in social organization and technology, but of the more widely rooted processes that reflected the amalgamation of thousands day-to-day experimentation and improvisation by ordinary people. The grassroots driver was, in turn, he says, driven by the spread of modern values which encouraged people to imagine better ways of doing things in the search for a more fulfilling life, hence the emphasis on job satisfaction. Nevertheless, if we were in the middle of a Schumpeterian cycle, where technological change create a process of industrial mutation, revolutionizing the economic structure, incessantly destroying the old one, incessantly create a new one, only a portion of the economy, the most reactive one, would respond to net criteria for innovation. Current approach to green growth policy disregard the innovation factor, ignoring that the portfolio of technology available today are not adequate, and those of tomorrow depends on what is done today. The line clean innovation policy results in much higher costs. This is the conclusion that in general is in the document of the International Energy Agency. Are the consumer environmental concerns and market competition of firm decision enough to assure decision in favor to clean, innovative technologies? This is a very important question, in my view. The citizens' social responsibility concern and the degree of competition between firms jointly shape the direction of innovation. The effect of consumers' environmental concerns and market competition on firm decision to innovate in clean technology determine R&D, pollution, and welfare. The conclusion that the International Energy Agency asserted that clean energy technologies need faster progress, but now the data in patenting activities show a decline since 2012 that has gone hand in hand with a drop in the share of startups and scale up in energy and the sustainability sector. The decline raises some questions, given the startups are important drivers of aggregate investment activities, and significant careers of innovation. For solar photovoltaic, the downward trend seems to be fully consistent with the technology entering in its maturity stage. It is important that Europe maintain its competitive advantage in this different technology. This is my point of view, ensuring that the market does not shift to another region, as was the case with solar photovoltaic. That is an emblematic case. While Europe is at the forefront of green technology, its position in digital adoption or innovation is less encouraging. Not only are digital adoption rates of European firms lower than those of their US counterparts, innovation in digitalization is also slower. Patent data reveal that Europe is lagging behind both the United States and China for patent application relevant to Industry 4.0. Another question is, could the innovation needed by Europe come out from the private sector as a reaction to the European Union Green Deal technology? Again, Ernest Phelps points out that a great many people in an interview in Project Syndicate, the great many people shaken up by the pandemic experience are motivated to make change in their business and in their lives. However, it is quite possible that people will be inspired to innovate in ways that otherwise would not have. But the rise of the state-centered and communitarian values over individualism, vitalism, and self-expression operates to weaken dynamism. The United Nations argues in a recent energy transition report that energy transition can no longer be limited to incremental steps. It must become a transformation effort, a system overall based on the rapid upscaling and implementation of all available technology to innovate for the future. But this is a point mostly worrying. Are the market mechanisms that drive the research and its effect to either clean or dirty technologies? If clean technology, observed, pointed out as a model, if clean technology are less advanced than the clean one to start with, the potential transition can be difficult. Given an imposed carbon tax, dirty technology tend to prevail on clean technology if the final goods producer have the possibility to use a dirty technology at the frontier of the product line. Moreover, there are synergies between deployment and innovation on the side of energy cost for storage technology. Policy designed to build market growth and innovation in battery storage may complement cost reduction of clean energy technology. Moreover, countries and households will be differently impacted by the extension of the carbon pricing mechanism, with cost of meeting comparable emission targets through carbon pricing, varying significantly between and within countries. Transition costs are likely to be significant also in the optimistic outlook of Blanchard and Tirole, 2021, and new inequalities between winners and losers of energy and climate policy could create a strong opposition to green policy and innovation. But the revenue from carbon taxation or the auctioning of tradable permits can be redistributed, neutralizing their effect. But let me say that, concluding my speech, that it's very important to take the position of Ned Phelps when he said it would be a mistake to misunderstand the relation of inequality and innovation. It is less innovation, no more, that has widened inequality in the United States in recent decades. This is very important to me. Look into the choices that the European Union is doing that necessarily will be have the outcome, will have the outcome of some inequality or increased inequality that has to be considered as a part of a policy in which you have to take the position or net position about the innovation. Thank you very much for your attention.
We have time for questions. Does anyone have questions for Luigi? Thank you, Luigi.
Thank you to the participants. Thank you to Ned, to everybody. I don't.
Luigi. Oh.
Yes.
I'm wondering, do you feel that Italy has any special problems that the rest of continental Europe doesn't have? And how would you compare the problems in Europe, broadly defined, and the problems in the United States? Are you in a worse position or in a less bad position?
It's a difficult question, Ned. Indeed. I think that the problem of Europe is quite different from the problem of the United States, not only because of policies that are planned to be adopted are different, but also because, mainly because the Europe suffer of an anemic growth, and the problem that I try to point out is the problem of trying to create a mix of policy in which innovation is the center of the policy and not forgotten as one of the variables less important. The point is that generally talking, the problem is taken as a problem to reach the goals of decarbonizing the economy, and this is important. But I think that less importance is devoted to the need or look into the innovation as a way by which Europe can be changing its position in competitive terms. And this make a difference between my personal view between the United States and Europe.
Jeff Sachs this morning was suggesting, I think, I don't know who to face, who to be rude to. Jeff was in a brilliant and moving speech. He was suggesting that something that I myself believe to a degree, but I try to suppress it from my mind. He was suggesting that the people have changed so much, and we can't go back to capitalism as it is now constructed, not that there will be no use or not that there will be no limited use for capitalism in some parts, but that, yeah. I spent half my day trying to remember to put the mask on, so it's very hard to remember to take the mask off. So that's one of the problems. We don't know who we want to be. We don't want to know what kind of people we want to have 10, 20 years from now. And I'm wondering whether this sort of radical reconsideration is coming up also in Western Europe.
Certainly, it's happening also in Europe, and in Europe we are obviously very concerned about the environmental problems, and the consumers' environmental concerns and market competition are very important in assuring the process I try to describe. It seems to me that the social responsibility of citizens is one very important change, is a very important change that is promising to have consequences, important consequences of the choice we have to make in the next 20 years. And I'm sure that the interest and the concern the citizens will be at the basis of the pushing activity on innovation, because everybody is aware that the goal that the European Union established are certainly important, but are goals that you have to reach, and that to reach the goal, you need to have more innovation than now. And this is a very important problem that is to put on the center of the economic policy in Europe and the United States too.
Okay, Luigi, we have one more question. I'm not sure you'll be able to see him, but you'll be able to hear him.
Okay.
Buonasera, professore. Sono molto felice di essere qui. Mi chiamo Joey. Grazie per parlare con noi. I actually have a question. So which country do you think will be the main driving force inside of Europe to drive innovation? And I'm wondering also if you have a country outside of Europe that you think will be responsible for the global advancement in technology. Thank you very much.
I think that the responsibility for advancing technologies depends for our investment in innovation, in R&D, but mainly in the awareness of the importance that the citizens are able to take the position that is a position that could be, supported by enough percentage of the population, and creating the, responsibility for political decision. I think that this is a very important question, and I hope that in the next future we'll have this kind of choice and this kind of scenario.
Well, we have about 5 minutes, but we can end. You can go or whatever
Does anybody have, another person have a question? Well, if there's no other question, let me just ask one more. I love Europe. Sandra Navidi, in her wonderful talk, an hour or two ago was describing the horrors that exist not only in America, but also in Europe. The riots, the uprisings, the anger. She gave the well-known example of the attack in Germany and the attack in France. I hadn't known that there was also recently an attack in Rome. Are you wondered that there's some sort of a revolution bubbling here, or some sort of anarchy, or some sort of new wave of violence, and that makes it impossible to realize, to even start down the avenue toward a healthier economy?
Okay, Ned, this is a very important question. Let me say that my opinion is that that economists, all of us, are pointing out that inequalities are increasing, and inequalities are, I think, at the basis of some movement of people inside Europe and inside the United States, and it's difficult to face the challenge if you are not able to make the right composition between the need of make a revolution, the revolution of the Green Deal, but at the same time the revolution of facing inequalities. And this is is a political challenge that is difficult to be forgotten. I think that's very important by you.
Wonderful. So I think that we're just right about out of time, and I think we should conclude. Thank you very much, Luigi.
Thanks to all the participants. I am very happy to say my congratulations again and my wishes to Ned and this group. And I hope to see many of you at the Villa Mondragone next, because you have to remember that Ned Phelps is not only the director of the Center for Capital, the Center of Capitalism and Society, but also the founder of the Villa Mondragone Conference. And I am grateful to him, and I hope to see him and all of you next edition at the conference, in presence or virtually, but anyway, to see many of you. Bye. Thank you.